Welcome to Praying Through the Bible, number 19, Genesis 32, 24 through 32, a prayer of victory in defeat. Have you ever wrestled with a text and the text won? Within Holy Writ, there are inspired scenes, many understandable and others beyond comprehension. Jacob's journey from the Promised Land and back are bookended with bizarre experiences. Leaving home, he has a vision of the angelic beings ascending and descending a ladder, Jacob's ladder. Coming home, he wrestles with a man-like divine being. What is or are the purpose or purposes of these Ezekiel-like visions? I don't know, but I will give an opinion, and hopefully we don't need to know to benefit for a prayer devotional. Some, embarrassed by this awkward revelation, symbolize the wrestling as a dream or a prayer. And yet Jacob is pictured literally wrestling with God, chapter 32, verse 30. Here, the literal symbolizes the literal. I understand muscle aches, and Jacob is going to have one for the rest of his life. At my age, I can pull a muscle while sleeping. But Jacob literally has to limp after this because of a dislocated hip, chapter 32, verse 25. Jacob's life is one of wrestling. Jacob began life wrestling, holding on to Esau's heel, chapter 25, verse 26. Getting the blessing by disguise, he struggled to fool his father. The labor changes to Laban force means Jacob's job was an employer-employee struggle. Jacob's wife Rachel says, "In my wrestlings with God, I have wrestled with my sister and won," chapter 30 and verse 8. So Jacob's son Naphtali has a name that sounds like my wrestling. And Jabbok, chapter 32, 22, where this scene occurs, that name even means wrestling. Scripture says they wrestled until daybreak, chapter 32, verse 24. Call it an opinion or an observation. They probably wrestled all night long because this incident is analogous to Jacob's life. So instead of this being a dislocated event, however idiosyncratic, it is a fitting, very personal, life-defining moment. When this divine being cannot defeat Jacob, he strikes Jacob, dislocating his hip socket. This ends the battle miraculously, and the prayer begins. This prayer leads to Jacob's name change to Israel. So what's the point of this scene for us? Have you considered how God wrestles with us without overpowering us, maneuvering us to change? God's grace is often found in nudges, pushes, and pulls in our lives. And sometimes grace is found in a knockdown punch. Someone said, "We never change until the pain becomes greater than the fear of change." The thigh is the strongest muscle in the body. So God takes away Jacob's strength. Properly so, Jacob does not consider this wrestling with God a victory of his own strength, knowing it took a miracle to defeat him. He considers himself delivered, divinely allowed to live after seeing God face to face. Chapter 32, 30. Reading this short scene, we see many life-changing applications. So let's go through them. 1, at times we need to be alone with God. 2, sometimes God waits for us to be alone. 3, divine encounters are not always what we expect or momentarily pleasant. 4, God awards persistence. 5, our new name describes the new us. Understand what the word Christian means and disciple. 6, grace removes the curse of seeing God. 7. There is a time limit on God's opportunities. 8. Everyday inconveniences are worth God's grace. 9. God interrupts lives in a multiplicity of ways. 10. God's timing is always perfect. 11. All that really matters is being blessed by God. 12. No one really defeats God. And 13. We all need God to defeat us. Let's wrestle with these applications. Here's our prayer challenge. Take each of these applications and make a prayer. Just as Jacob's wrestling was personalized to him, make these applications personal to us. Start praying. That's Praying Through the Bible, number 19, Genesis 32:24 through 32, a prayer of victory in defeat. If this has been a blessing to you, please share. And now you can watch on YouTube under Perry Hall. Thank you.